Hare Krishna. Ruchimati ji, looks like only you and me are in the class today. So I think we can start with the prayers.
Yeah. Who is this?
Om Jnanatirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदन्तिकं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम सॉरी राम राम हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Okay, so today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 2, text 31. Anybody else who has joined the call would like to read? Okay, so I will read. This is text 31. एष एव हि लोकानां शिवा पन्थ सनातनः यं पूर्वे चानुशन्तस्तुर्यत् प्रमाणं जनार्दनः. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principle for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which has been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardhana, the well-wisher of all living entities. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has claimed that he is the father of all living entities, regardless of form. There are 8,400,000 different species of life forms, and Lord Krishna claims that he is the father of all. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are all sons of the Lord. And for their benefit, because they are hovering under the impression that they can lord it over material nature, the Vedas are given to them for their guidance. Therefore, the Vedas are called Apaurishaya, for they are not written by any man or demigod, including the first living creature, Brahma. Brahma is not the creator or author of the Vedas. He is one who he is also one of the living entities in this material world. Therefore, he does not have the power to write or speak the Vedas independently. Every living entity within this material world is subject to four deficiencies. He commits mistakes. He accepts one thing for another. He cheats. He and he has imperfect senses. The Vedas, however, are not written by any living creature within this material world. Therefore, they are said to be Apaurishaya. No one can trace out the history of the Vedas. Of course, modern human civilization has no chronological history of the world or the universe, and it cannot present actual historical facts older than 3,000 years. But no one has traced out when the Vedas were written because they were never written by any living being within this material world. All other systems of knowledge are defective because they have been written or spoken by men or demigods who are products of this material creation. But Bhagavad Gita is Aparishaya, for it was not spoken by any human being or any demigod of this material creation. It was spoken by Lord Krishna, who is beyond this material creation. That is accepted by such stalwart scholars as Shankaracharya, not to speak of other acharyas such as Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. Shankaracharya has accepted that Narayana and Krishna are transcendental. And in Bhagavad Gita, also Lord Krishna has established Aham Sarvasva Prabhavo Mattam Sarvam Pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. This material creation, including Brahma and Shiva and all the demigods, have been created by him, for everything has emanated from him. He also says that the purpose of all the Vedas is to understand him. Vedescha sarve aham eva vedya. He is the original Vedavid or the knower of the Vedas and Vedanta Krit or compiler of Vedanta. Brahma is not the compiler of the Vedas. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is established, Tene Brahma Hrida, the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge through his heart. Therefore, the evidence that Vedic knowledge is free from the defects of mistakes, illusion, cheating, and imperfection is that it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhana, and has been followed from time immemorial, beginning from Brahma. The Vedic knowledge or the principles of the Vedas have been followed by the highly cultured population of India since time immemorial. No one can trace out the history of Vedic religion. Therefore, it is Sanatana. And any blasphemy against the Vedas is calculated to be atheism. The Vedas are described as Setu, which means a bridge. If one wants to attain his spiritual existence, one has to cross an ocean of nescience. The Vedas are the bridge between which to cross such a great ocean. The Vedas describe how to divide the human race into four divisions according to quality and working capacity. Thus, this is a very fantastic system, and it is also Sanatana. For one, for no one can trace out its history and has no dissolution. No one can stop the system of Varna and Ashrama or the castes and divisions. For example, whether or not one accepts the name Brahmana, there is a class in society which is known as intelligent class and which is interested in spiritual understanding and philosophy. Similarly, there is a class of men who are interested in administration and in ruling others. In the Vedic system, such maritally spirited men are called Kshatriyas. Similarly, everywhere there is a class of men who are interested in economic development, business, industry, and money making. They are called Vaishyas. And there is another class who are neither intelligent nor materially spirited nor endowed with capacity for economic development, but who simply can serve others. They are called Shudras or the laborer class. This is Sanatana. It comes from time immemorial and will continue in the same way. There is no power in this world which can stop it. Therefore, since the Sanatana Dharma is eternal, one can elevate himself to the highest standard of spiritual life by following the Vedic principles. It is stated that the sages followed the system. Therefore, to follow the Vedic system is to follow the standard etiquette of society. But the followers of Lord Shiva, who are drunkards, who are addicted to intoxicants and sex life, who do not bathe and who smoke ganja, are against all human etiquette. The conclusion is that persons who rebel against the Vedic principles are themselves the evidence that the Vedas are authoritative, because by not following the Vedic principles, they become like animals. Such animalistic persons are themselves evidence of the supremacy of the Vedic regulations. Okay, so I think today we have only three devotees, me and Antaranga Seva Mataji. Thank you for joining. Would you like to read the next verse?
Oh, okay, Mataji, I have locked my jaw. I'll try to read slowly.
That's okay.
Mataji, we are not able to hear you.
Which verse are you reading? Can you tell me? I
I have
can.
Oh,
locked
Ruchi
my I have
Mataji, is it you?
locked my jaw.
Yeah.
Huh? Oh, sorry, I can't hear both of you.
I have locked my jaw.
Oh no.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear, Mataji.
Hmm.
Are
So
you
which
taking some medication or something?
No, I'm doing some exercises.
Oh, I hope you feel better.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hope you feel better, but
Feel
you know,
sorry.
every has a positive and negative side, so you get more time for studies and chanting and for for developing spiritually, I guess. Yes.
Ruchi Mataji, do you have a book?
Yes,
Do you
which
want
verse
to?
are you reading? Which
Yeah,
verse?
this is from Canto 4, Chapter 2, Text 32.
Text 32. So you want me to read text 32?
Yes, Mataji. You can read 32 and 33 for today. We will have three verses.
Okay, thank you. So, Tad Brahma Paramam Shuddham Shavam Vartam Sanatanam Vigraya Yata Pasandam Devam Vo Yatra Bhutarat. Translation. By blaspheming the principles of the Vedas, which are the pure and supreme path of the saintly persons, certainly you followers of Bhutapati Lord Shiv will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt. Purport. Lord Shiva is described here as Bhutapati, Bhutarath, sorry. The ghosts and those who are situated in the material mode of ignorance are called Bhutas. So Bhuta Rath refers to the leader of the creatures who are in the lowest standard of the material modes of nature. Hold on, I can't see anything. Let me turn on the lights. Just a second, the light is okay. So, purport. Where was I? Another meaning of bhuta is anyone who has taken birth or anything which is produced. So, in that sense, Lord Shiva may be accepted as the father of this material world. Here, of course, Bhrigu Muni takes Lord Shiva as the leader of the lowest creatures. The characteristics of the lowest class of men have already been described. They do not bathe, they have long hair on their heads, and they are addicted to intoxicants. In comparison with the path followed by the followers of Bhutarath, the Vedic system is certainly excellent, for it promotes people to spiritual life as the highest eternal principle of human civilization. If one decries or blasphemes the Vedic principles, then he falls to the standard of atheism. Text 33. Maitreya Uvacha Tasya Vadatam Saptam Vikosha Bhagavan Dva Nishkama Tata Kinchit Vimana Vigat Shangaha. Translation. The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter-cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksha and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Not saying anything, he left the area of the sacrifice, followed by his disciples. Purport: Here Lord Shiva's excellent character is described. In spite of the cursing and counter-cursing between the parties of Daksha and Shiva, because he is the greatest Vaishnav, he was so sober that he did not say anything. A Vaishnav is always tolerant, and Lord Shiva is considered the topmost Vaishnav. So his character, as shown in the scene, is excellent. He became morose because he knew that these people, both his men and Dakshas, were unnecessarily cursing and counter-cursing one another, without any interest in spiritual life. From his point of view, he did not see anyone as lower or higher because he is a Vaishnava. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Pandita Samdarshana, one who is perfectly learned does not see anyone as lesser or greater because he sees everyone from the spiritual platform. Thus, the only alternative left to Lord Shiva was to leave in order to stop his follower Nandishwar as well as Brigamuni from cursing and counter cursing in that way. Is that all? Were these
Thank
the two
you.
verses?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you for reading. Um, I'll share a few points and then you can also share. Okay, Mataji?
Yes, yes, sure. Go ahead.
So, um, actually, we were hearing from the previous verses that Daksha actually curses Shiva and then he leaves. And then Nandishwara, who is the associated, who is the one of the principal associates of Lord Shiva, he becomes very angry and then he curses not just Daksha, but he also curses the Brahmanas who are present in the arena. Now that he has cursed the Brahmanas, so Brigumuni, he curses Nandishwara. In now he one second. He says that he's cursing all the followers of Shiva. And then he says that those who follow Lord Shiva, they will certainly become an atheist and they will get diverted from the spiritual injunction. So that's what Brigumuni says. So in this verse, is actually like a continuation. Um, so it is said that, okay, so in the previous verse, it is said, Brigumuni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas, who are the followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you're already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. So, and then in today's verse, it is said that the Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, who has been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardhana, the well-wisher of all living entities. So in the purport, actually, Prabhupada is sharing the very basis of all Vedic literature. So he says that we have actually heard this in several of his books, even in Ishopanishad. Prabhupada talks about this, of how all the Vedic literature is beyond the four defects of the uh, mm, human civilization. And he also says that because it is um, not it is beyond the four defects, therefore it is transcendental. He also says that it is also transcendental because it is coming directly from Krishna. It's the words of Krishna directly. And the evidence, it's not that like Vedic literature
Can you
and
please
these statements.
speak a little bit louder, because I'm on the tablet and the volume of this tablet doesn't is like very low, if it's not a
I
problem.
will try, Mataji. Actually, I'm very close to my phone, and also I think I'm speaking very loudly. But can you keep your tablet a little closer to your ear or something? Will that be helpful? Is it any better now? Okay. So, I don't know what I was saying. So we were talking about Apaurishaya, how the Vedic literature is coming directly from Krishna. So, um, so he's saying that even in Bhagavad Gita, there is this reference where Krishna himself he is establishing this fact that all the Vedas are coming from me. Now, like when we hear from the scriptural injunctions, people in Kali Yuga actually don't believe it, because they think that these are not facts, but these are things that have been written. So Prabhupada, because he's such a scholar, so he understands the minds of the scientists. So he is actually saying for the people of Kali Yuga that like no matter how much one is doing research or he's diving into science, no one can actually trace the very existence of the Vedas. Like nobody can tell when the Vedas were written, because actually the Vedas were always existing. So he's establishing that fact that actually even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually says that I sent forth the Vedas to this uh, material world, because Vedas are like a guide. Like when we make something, we make an item. Let's say there's a TV, or there is a light, or there is any kind of product. If somebody makes, along with the product comes a book of instructions, or comes a book of guidelines of how to use it and what not to do, what to do, kind of a thing. So similarly, when this material world came into being, along with it came the Vedas, which are more like the instructions or the guidelines of how to live in the material world. What are the things that can be done? What are the things that cannot be done? And also it gives the reactions of what a person will go through if they did something they're not supposed to do. So, and then he also says that it is not just Krishna, or one might say that, oh, because these words are coming from Krishna himself, he's saying that I'm God. But it's not just him, but it is so many other spiritual leaders like Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. All of them have also established the same fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also says this. In the 10th chapter, he says that all of these, Devala, Sita, all of these spiritual leaders, they have accepted you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a unanimous fact that has been established. There is no discrepancy, because generally what happens is that if there is a fact, then there is always some people who are in favor of that fact, and then there are also some people who actually establish a different fact saying that, oh, this is not the right thing, this is the right thing. But the fact that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead is universal. Like there is no dispute in that fact. And then he also says that the the essence of all of these Vedic sacrifices, or the essence of all the Vedas, is actually to understand that Krishna is supreme. So he says that um, so Vedescha Sarver Ahameva Vedu. It's to know that Krishna is the supreme. So that is the essence of all the Vedas. But unfortunately, what happens is that when somebody is reading Vedas, so this was in few verses before, that they actually get attracted to all the other sections of Vedas, which speak about different kinds of piety, but they actually forget the essence. The essence is to know Krishna. That is the essence. But unfortunately, people actually don't catch that. They go for all the other flowery aspects of the Vedas. So here it is being said that therefore it is so he's saying that Vedas are Sanatana, and any blasphemy against the Vedas is calculated to be atheism. So he's saying that because the essence is to know Krishna, the Vedas, and if we blaspheme the Vedas, it is like blaspheming the Lord. So it's like um uh, so it is to be understood that people who are blaspheming Vedas do not recognize the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. So so it is, so they are basically like uh, atheists who do not believe in the supremacy of the Lord. So he also says that Vedas are like a bridge which connect this material world to the spiritual world. So like how we spoke about earlier, that Vedas are like the guidelines. And if we follow those guidelines, we can actually get to the essence to know Krishna and to establish our relationship with him. So it is the transcendental. So from these different varnas and ashramas that the Vedas speak about, by cooperating and working in that system that's given by Krishna, one can actually progress from ignorance to passion to goodness to eventually transcendence, where one is actually able to cut the knot of birth and death and then rise above it and eventually establish that relationship with Krishna and then serve him eternally. So that is the Sanatana Dharma, where one is actually uh, rising above the Swadharma. So Swadharma is what we are, the duties that we are supposed to perform in this world. But then when we perfect those duties and perform them for the pleasure of Krishna, then those duties actually become transcendental. So what happens is that we are not really looking for any benefit. We are not looking for any profit or anything for our sense gratification, but we are actually trying to please the Lord, and that is the perfection of the Vedas. Actually, I was just today I was watching the small snippets that Shivram Maharaj makes, um, and then he was actually speaking about how if we do not follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita, or if we do not follow the rules and regulations that are given um, in the Vedas, or actually for us it's more like the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, if we do not follow that, then he says that we are more like sophisticated animals and nothing beyond it, because our education system actually does not speak about these very very important principles of life. So people actually think that Krishna has provided all these resources for our enjoyment. So I was hearing another class by Romapada Swami, and Maharaj was also saying a similar point, that one time he had gone to a university, I think it's the University of Jaipur or something, and then he asked those audience that the purpose of the Vedas is to um, bring us to a point where we can perform pious activities and then rise to heavenly planets so that we can enjoy more. And he was saying that of all the people who were present, more than 90% had their hands up, because that is the notion that people actually have, that Vedas are given to us so that we can enjoy more. We perform sacrifices, we perform these different kinds of charities. People give charity. Why do they give charity? So that they can get 10 times more money. Or they say that, we are doing this Dhanvantri Vrata or something different kinds of vratas, so that they can get more money, they can prosper more, they can enjoy more. So that is being taken away in this verse, that Prabhupada is very he's sharing several times that the purpose of Vedas is to actually know Krishna, but not to increase our material enjoyment. Because if we increase our material enjoyment, then the cycle of birth and death it becomes more binding. But the same activities, when they're performed for the pleasure of the Lord, then they actually become liberating. So the next verse, actually, we kind of touched upon it yesterday. Antaranga Seva Mataji actually very nicely was explaining how actually Lord Shiva, um, here he is actually described as Bhutarath. So he is actually, he's given this service where he is actually giving shelter to those people who are in the mode of ignorance. So the people who are in mode of ignorance, we kind of read everything about them yesterday, uh, that they actually do not take bath, they have long hair, they indulge in sex, they have they're drinking ganja, and they are all like in the lowest modes of life, like in the mode of ignorance. They basically do not know what is the purpose of life, so they're indulging in all of these. But Lord Shiva is actually performing this service, that he can actually elevate even people like that to a little higher position, where they can actually start to um, come towards the mode of goodness. So from ignorance to passion to goodness. So different demigods and Lord Shiva and all of these actually are given these different services where they can actually bring people closer to the lotus feet of Krishna. Um, Actually, if we see, there is also a sampradaya of Lord Shiva, actually. Out of the four sampradayas, so Lord Shiva also has a sampradaya.
Yeah,
So
Rudra
people,
Sampradaya.
yeah, Rudra Sampradaya. Thank you, Mataji. So actually, one who, because Lord Shiva, he's such a great Vaishnava. He is he's such a pure devotee of the Lord, that um, he can actually elevate others also to that position. So having said that, um, the last verse is that Maitra is narrating again, and with all this counter cursing and cursing. So first Daksha is cursing Shiva, then Nandishwara is cursing the Brahmanas, and then um, Nandishwara is cursing the Brahmanas, right? Yeah. And then Bhrigu Muni is cursing Nandishwara back. And so with all of these different things that are happening, um, Lord Shiva was not at all disturbed, because what happens is that when such things happen, then actually one falls down from the transcendental to the material platform. Actually, in one sense, if we look at the situation, um, when Daksha cursed Shiva, then Shiva was not agitated. But Nandishwara, because Shiva was a spiritual master, so Nandishwara was, he actually reacted to the situation. So in one sense, if we see, what he has done is right, because when somebody is blaspheming our spiritual master, we are not supposed to stand there and keep quiet. Either we are supposed to leave or we are supposed to say something. So Nandishwara actually chose the path to say something, but the way he said it, that was not right. Like, he was angry and he cursed, and so the spiritual master, who is Lord Shiva, was not happy. So he kind of, to stop this entire cursing, counter cursing thing, he actually left the arena with all his disciples. So Lord Shiva is being glorified in this purport, and he's saying, like, he's such a nice Vaishnava that he's actually, um, he did not see anybody higher or lower. He saw everybody as equal. So he says that thus only alternative left to Lord Shiva was to leave in order to stop his follower Nandishwara as well as Bhrigu Muni from cursing and counter cursing in this way. So I will end here, and then I will see if other devotees would like to share anything, would like to correct me. Please go ahead.
No, thank you. It was a very nice and wonderful explanation of how, like, everything you spoke to, like, it was really very nicely explained. So yes, but I would just like to add that here, like, he's saying that when they were cursing and counter cursing one another without any interest in spiritual life, that means that, Lord Shiva comes from a very very high platform. He actually is seeing that, he, like how it is said, that he's seeing everyone as the same, and that is why he is considered the biggest Vaishnav, because he does not discriminate. And also, even though he knows that, okay, this person or this living entity is not at par with that other living entity who is very advanced, still he sees that hope in that fallen down entity. He sees hope in it, hope in that entity. And because he is the spiritual master of all beings and the father of all beings, he sees that, what, he is trying to make all those living entities advance and to make them realize and come to his level of understanding that, these all accomplishments are of the mind and the body and everything, but ultimately we should be very compassionate to the fallen down people, and that is what he's trying to preach. So you can see as a deeper meaning that when Daksha is cursing and Nandishwar is cursing, that, Daksha is cursing out of his false ego, that I am bigger than you guys because you guys don't take up don't take a shower, you don't keep clean, you are not following Vedic principles, and you are not doing this, that means he is actually uh, lower than even Lord Shiva's followers, because he is acting in the concept of false ego. So Lord Shiva is, that is why, disappointed that, look, even when my followers are so like living in a state of constant material deprivement, they have not learned the lesson that when somebody is acting out of false ego, we should forgive him, even if that person is externally appearing to be very rich and proudy, but still we should see that he is actually a fallen person. And so he is trying to, in that concept, he is trying to see why my followers are not uh, seeing that we should treat everyone with love and compassion and with respect, and even if they have a point of view. But Nandishwar is acting out of his love for Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva is disappointed, and that is why he could have told them, or he could have done something drastic to like make Daksh realize his mistake. But um, he is just disappointed that, if somebody is insulting somebody, then we should not try to see it from the bodily perspective, from the false ego perspective, but try to see that this person is acting out of his false ego, and it is his fault, not my fault. And also, speaking when the spiritual master is present without his permission is also against the Vedic religion. That when Nandishwar had to curse, maybe he should have asked Lord Shiva, what do you want me to do? What should I do? But he never asked Lord Shiva, his master, before proceeding to curse and counter curse. That is why again he is going against Lord Shiva's principles and Vedic principles. That is why Lord Shiva is disappointed, and he decides to just leave instead of like correcting them. So you see how high Lord Shiva's standards are, that he does not even tolerate the wrongdoings of his followers done for out of love for him. Like, like other demigods or other people, they will, if somebody does something for them, they will be like very happy, okay, this person did this mistake for me out of love for me, so I am going to protect him and I'm going to act against him. No, he said, even if you did it out of love for me, no, but you did the wrong thing, that you responded by cursing for a curse that you got, when you should have not acted without my permission, and not acted by seeing that this person is coming from false ego, and should not have reacted. So I know I'm over explaining one single line, but that is what is why I always say that Lord Shiva is the savior of even the lowest, most fallen down people, because he sees the hope in them, that they have the hope to like become the greatest of the great if they are given proper guidance, and if they are given proper love, and if they are given proper. So that is why he loves all his people who are even very crooked and devilish or do wrong things. He always forgives them all the time, and keeps asking Lord Vishnu for favors for the demons, because he sees the deeper aspect, that these people are just, they don't know what they are doing, and if properly guided, they will be able to reach even higher than the people who have false ego and false prestige. And they make a show of religion. So he sees that. So here, that's why here it is stated that he's saying Pandita Samdarshana, which means that a real Pandit is one who sees that even the lowest of the low or the highest of the high has the same essence. Like there is a saying called, every sinner has a future, and every sinner has a future, and every saint has a past. So there is nobody who is perfect. Even the biggest saints, they will have something in their past or somewhere in their previous life or something which is hidden by God's grace. And even the biggest sinner whom we think, oh my God, there is no greater sinner than this person, he also has a future, that if he is given the grace of God, he will also become a saint, the biggest saint. He has the possibility to become the biggest saint. So he sees everyone from the spiritual platform, and that's why he left the order. um left was to leave in order to stop his follower Nandishwar as well as Prighi Manu from counter cursing, because he knew the only way is if I just leave from here, they will also calm down and leave, instead of getting into this fight, who is right and who is wrong, and who is better and who is worse, and who is like wrong or right. He is much above that. Like I've always said, he is on the transcendental plane. He is much above all these false attributes, because we see that he is like the in terms things of getting that, like um, I forget that he is like um, he is like um, if formless the formless um, Shakti. So he is like, I shouldn't say Shakti, but he's the formless uh, God who does not like Prakriti, you can say formless Prakriti, or formless, where he is like Nirgun, in the Nirgun roop, or in the he is like in the Nirgun roop, where he doesn't believe in all these um, bodily false ego. He is above that. So that was my 2 cents. Thanks for giving me the chance, and thanks for giving such a nice explanation that you gave today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchimataji, for all the sharing and explanation. Um, where did you hear that? You were saying that Lord Shiva has no form?
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
No, no, I was saying that part of your explanation, you are also explaining that Shiva has no form.
Yeah, like in the Shivalingam, he is considered the Nirgun Brahman. Sorry, yeah, the word was missing, was Nirgun Brahman, and Brahman is above above any form. Brahman is formless. Brahman is like the uh, what I should say, I don't get the formless Prakriti, which means everything emanates from, all forms emanates from him. Like they also say, of course, Krishna, everything emanates from him, but he is Nirgun Brahman, meaning that he is he is, I don't know if you understand Nirgun Brahman. Brahman is, we understand all of it, like supreme consciousness. So he is supreme consciousness, which is also formless. That is how we worship him in the Shivalingam form, which is actually considered Nirgun Brahman.
Oh. I have not heard of this ever. Like for me, like the understanding that I have is that Brahman is a one who understand Brahman, one
Can you
who
speak loudly, please?
understand.
Can you speak just I can't hear you since I have to
Uh,
answer. Sorry.
yeah. So the word Brahman, actually, or Brahmana is one who knows the knowledge of Brahman, and the knowledge of
Knowledge of
Brahman,
what? Knowledge
Brahmana,
of, oh, knowledge of
Brahman,
Brahman. No, no, that
Brahman.
Brahman is different. That Brahman is when a person is in the like in Hindi there are many words which sound similar, but they are actually very different. So Brahman is one who has the knowledge of Brahma, Brahm. But what is Brahm? Brahm is super consciousness. It is consciousness without form, from which everything emanates. So Brahman is Brahman words come from one who is, like how we say brahmachari. So brahmachari is one who has knowledge of Brahma. Brahma is the nirgun, what you should say, consciousness. He is the supreme nirgun consciousness. Uh, if you want, I can send you one of the. Uh, I don't know if you have heard about one or two of Shiva's songs or artis in which it is very clear that from him the word emanated, from him Om emanated, from him all these music and everything emanated, because he is the supreme consciousness or the Brahman. And the Brahman that we call over here, like how we have four categories like Brahman and Shudra and Vaishya. These are all categories, and Brahman we say is the highest because he has knowledge of Brahm. What is Brahm? That supreme consciousness. Supreme consciousness who has no form. Basically, he can take the form definitely, but he is formless, out of which all forms have emanated. That is the basic understanding of Shaivism, is that he is the Nirgun supreme consciousness out of which all forms have emanated. They have come from that. But Krishna, we say, is the how we can say, like he is the um, even the father of Brahma Jyoti. Many people say that he is also the father of Brahman. So Brahman emanated from Krishna, many people say, but Brahman is actually the supreme formless consciousness from which everything emanated, from which everything takes form. You know, like the Prakriti or the I'll try to send you that link where it is more clearer. So that is why why I was saying over here is because he is above the, like, false ego. So when a body is given to a person, or when we get a body, we have this false ego in us. But when we leave the body, the false ego leaves with it. So then the subtle body or whatever, it is actually just pure consciousness. Then it is not the false ego does not accompany. So why they are fighting and why they are doing all this is because of false ego, which is associated with the body. But since he is much above the body, he is associated with the soul or the supreme consciousness. That is why he cannot relate with why they are fighting, why they are cursing and counter cursing over false ego. And so that is why, since he is above all that, he decides to leave, because his followers are also not following his principles, and they are reacting to an insult, which is again all bodily concepts. So that is why I tried to tell that why he is written that he because he sees as everyone from the spiritual platform. It is written, see, and stated Pandita Samdarshana, one who is perfectly learned does not see anyone as lesser or greater, because he sees everyone from the spiritual platform. Because like only when we get a body and false ego is somebody greater or higher or lesser, but when they leave the body, it is not about higher or lesser, it is more about pure consciousness. And at that time, these things don't matter, like, okay, who is bigger, who is greater, why they fought curse and not curse. So that is why he's seeing everyone from the spiritual platform, and they are seeing everything from the bodily platform. And that is why he had to leave, because he could not identify, and he could not uh, he did not also want to be a part of all that and set a bad example for his followers who were going against his preaching.
Mataji, in Gita, the Lord says that the word Om has come from him. So how did
Sorry,
it come?
this this
How
this
did it come
this
from Shiva
tablet
then?
is like not like I can barely hear anything. Yes, can you speak loudly, please?
In Gita, the Lord says Om has come from him.
Yeah, because they are all simultaneous. It is not like, like we read in Bhagavatam only, that when that Muni, I forgot who was praying, he asked to see the God. Then they came in three forms: Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, because they are all interchangeable, and not interchangeable, I should say, but they are the same form. Like he is uh, he Vishnu is also Shiva, and Shiva is also Vishnu. Like, if you know the Harihar roop of Shiva, in which half of him is Lord Vishnu and half of him is Lord Shiva. Similarly, he has the Parvati root because he is Nirgun Brahman. He can take even Parvati's root, and half of him becomes Parvati and half of him becomes him. So he is not like like how we say the spirit. He is a spirit, like Nirgun Brahman. So that is why when Krishna says that everything emanates from him, Om comes from him, it is also true because they are both one and the same. Like, how I told you that in the Harihar roop, half of Shiva is Vishnu and half of Vishnu is Shiva. I know there is a problem in understanding because we are taught in this philosophy that Krishna is above all and Shiva is actually a demigod, and he falls into trouble, and then Vishnu has to get him out of the trouble and all this, and he's constantly praying and meditating on Lord Vishnu. That all I know, I've heard from many places, and I was confused too. But he is the Nirgun Brahman. Uh, Prakriti. So there is actually, I don't want to go into more detail, but we can just say that you will read in, if you read Shiva Puran or anything, that he is the one who from whom all music came, like Saregama and all these musical tones and everything was actually developed by Lord Shiva, and Om actually came from Shiva too, which means that Krishna is also, he is the father of all beings. So it's like it's the same thing. Like Shiva is also considered the father, biological father. So they are one and the same. In many books, you will also see it is written that anybody who makes a difference, like I know in Krishna philosophy, is saying we should not equate Lord Shiva to be equal to Lord Krishna. But also in Ramayana, it is said that whoever makes a distinction between Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu is actually doing a big aparad. That's written in Ramayana. So it's all like uh, not who is greater or who is smaller. Ultimately, it's the same power, the supreme power. You know. Yeah, it's written in Ramayana. It's written that if anybody who makes a distinction between Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu is actually doing an aparad. But I know that here they say anybody who considers him equal to Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, then he is doing an aparad. So, but according to Ramayana, that's not the case. So, I mean, you can ask other people, but I'm just telling you about Lord Shiva. That's all. Sorry.
Thank you, Ruchi Matiti. I think that this is a very complicated topic, and when it comes to our little understanding, I guess it is very hard to um, come to any of like a clear picture of what is like given in different scriptures. But for us, the authority is Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will just go by reading Srimad Bhagavatam and just um, like following that. Like today, In the first verse we read, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we will continue to uh, read with that understanding. So if anybody else has any comments, we can share. It's already 6:05. If not, then we will end here and then we will continue again tomorrow. Okay, so then we will end here and then we will continue again tomorrow with more verses. Thank you all very much for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.